It's 1961 and pit bosses are rushing across the MGM casino floor. An awkward looking youngster has just won 9 blackjack hands in a row. It's costing the house thousands. They think he must be cheating, but they haven't got a clue how. They have no idea who he is, but soon they won't forget his name, because this is the true story of a man that beat Vegas and changed casinos forever. To understand how it happened, we need to go back 2 years earlier. It's 1959 in Massachusetts, and Ed Thorpe, a driven math PhD, has just started a premier teaching position at MIT. He's a true geek, deeply engrossed in solving puzzles. To him, tackling complex problems is fun.
He calculates the odds on everything, everyday things. He's very involved with statistics of every kind.
So when he stumbles across an article in an academic journal that details the issue of probability in blackjack, he's intrigued. The charm of blackjack lies in its simple play. Victory requires a player to hold a card total surpassing the dealer's without exceeding 21. The article Thorpe's been reading details the optimal approach for playing each possible hand. It's precisely the type of mathematical puzzle that gets Thorpe going. With a brief getaway to Vegas already planned, his interest is piqued. Now he's not interested in risk taking and somewhat short on funds, but while he's there he decides to engage in a little play so he can get a feel for the game.
We went out to Las Vegas and I never gambled because I knew it was a loser for most people, and the odds were against you, but I bet $10 and I played for about 40 minutes and I had an interesting experience.
Armed with insights from the article we previously pursued, he takes a seat holding a small card. Listed on the card are fundamental strategies for playing blackjack efficiently. The people at the table around him almost immediately erupt into laughter. The dealer even ridicules him, asking him what farm he comes from. In an attempt to recover his dignity, he tells them that it's his first time playing. They think he's stupid, but an unexpected turn is just around the corner. His strategy card recommends him to play the opposite hand to what the more seasoned players around him might propose. His system is counterintuitive. The outcome? His first systematic win. The dealer is shocked. Thorpe, however, is immediately hooked. At this point, he's convinced there's a method to outsmart the casinos. It's a defining moment that leads him onto an obsessive adventure. He just can't resist.
I was intrigued by this problem of blackjack because mathematicians had spent roughly 300 years studying and analyzing gambling games, and no one had ever found a way to beat any of the major gambling games.
Blackjack is unique to all other games. The odds shift with each play. This realisation is at the core of his plan, and though he ends up losing his money shortly after, this small significant insight has set the stage for monumental impact on both Thorpe and blackjack forever. You see, most casino games rely on random distribution. Each play is independent from the last. They're not linked at all. Take roulette for instance. The outcome of 20 consecutive reds don't influence the likelihood of the next spin being red, just like the toss of a coin. However, blackjack is different. And back in 1959, when Thorpe first secured this win, blackjack was being played using a 52 card deck. As each hand was dealt and set aside, the composition of the remaining cards is shifted in the deck. Thorpe's hunch was this: both the player and the house odds actually moved back and forth during gameplay, as cards were then removed from the deck. In theory, he could keep track of the cards that had been played, and then potentially he could outsmart the greedy pit bosses at their own game. It appeared almost too good to be true. He just had to perform numerous calculations to perfect his newly discovered strategy. However, a few weeks with a calculator revealed that the single deck could result in 32 million different combinations. Working at the pace of 60 calculations a minute, it would take him more than 10,000 years to complete. But Thorpe's luck is in. With technology advancing, a programmable computer with his local university will allow him to simulate all 34 million hands a lot quicker. Eventually, after almost a year of late nights and total obsession, Thorpe thinks he's cracked it.
1960, I had all the results. It showed that there were drastic shifts depending on which cards were out.
Thorpe's analysis reveals significant fluctuations based on the early removal of certain cards. He's pinpointed exactly which cards tilted the odds in the casino's favour and which ones benefited the player. In essence, removing smaller cards from the deck shifted the odds in the player's favour. Adversely, removing larger cards favours the casino. Now, regardless of the cards that are laid out by the dealer or how deep into the deck the game has progressed, Thorpe has devised the most favourable strategy for playing any forthcoming hand. In doing so, he's achieved what many thought was impossible. But as an academic, Thorpe naively shares his discovery in a publication for the American Mathematical Society, which catches the attention of a Boston journalist, who then spotlights Thorpe's work in a national newspaper. It's an unexpected turn for the geek that he hadn't considered. Suddenly, a flood of people are eager to get in touch with Thorpe. The MIT Maths department receives 20,000 letters in less than 2 months, and Thorpe's logic is being questioned. Thorpe feels compelled to validate his findings, realising that the only place that he can do so is at an actual blackjack table within the authentic environment of a casino.
I figured that there's no point in writing a book unless I knew it really worked. I knew it worked in theory, but what if you actually tried to do it? And a lot of things, they seem to work in theory, but when you get down and actually you find out there are all kinds of things you didn't think of.
But there's a problem. Employing his newly discovered strategy requires playing a substantial number of hands, and playing hands means money. Thorpe hasn't got any. To solve the problem, he realises he has to find a partner that's willing to finance his theory. Enter Manny Kimmel. Amongst the individuals reaching out to Thorpe, a wealthy 63-year-old New Yorker caught his attention. He was a seasoned risk taker familiar with casino high rollers. Previously, he claimed to have been a professional gambler and bookie in his younger years. The origins of Kimmel's wealth are murky, yet is irrelevant to Thorpe. His deep knowledge of casinos, coupled with his financial resources, made him the ideal partner. So Thorpe agrees to teach Kimmel, while Kimmel will impart wisdom on the ins and outs of how casinos operate. Once a mutual understanding was reached, Kimmel pledged to finance Thorpe's gambling ventures while observing from a distance. Thorpe's 2 years of research had now been distilled into one singular potent strategy. He cautiously introduces Kimmel to the concept now known as card counting. Kimmel grasped the concept immediately. The strategy didn't guarantee a constant advantage, but highlighted the best moments for aggressive play and bigger stakes. This is because the chance of winning was always changing depending on which cards remain in the deck after the others are played. High cards pose a problem for dealers since they're required to hit on 16. With more high cards remaining in the deck, the dealer's chance of busting increases, tipping the odds in the favour of the player. Conversely, certain cards remaining in the deck are advantageous for the dealer. Thorpe devises a card scoring system to simplify tracking the game's dynamics. In essence, low cards like 2s or 3s are undesirable, while high cards and aces are favourable. Mathematically, they enhance the player's winning chances. By assigning scores to each card and maintaining a tally, one can gauge the potential edge and wager accordingly. Kimmel found the mathematical aspects of keeping track a challenge, but after several weeks of rigorous training, Thorpe receives a call from New York. They're good to go. With financial backing secured, Thorpe is ready to hit Vegas and put his system to the test in a real casino setting. However, his wife's worries cast a shadow over the excitement. Indifferent to the potential financial gain, her primary concern is Thorpe's involvement in this risky endeavour.
One of the reasons that I didn't want him to go is because of the kind of people that were in Las Vegas, the gamblers and the gangsters and people like that. And I didn't want him to get involved with them, and I didn't know how safe it would be.
The stakes are further heightened by Kimmel's desire to start with a staggering $100,000, a sum that Thorpe fears losing, especially given Kimmel's suspected mob connections. Preferring a cautious approach, Thorpe suggests beginning with a more manageable $10,000. Again, he finds himself delicately balancing the risk between casino pit bosses and his new associate. Either way, Thorpe is up to his neck in risk. It's 1961 and they're poised to take on the establishment. Heeding Kimmel's counsel, they initially bypass Vegas, aiming to keep a low profile for their first run. They head to Reno instead. Thorpe has a single weekend and $10,000 to validate his strategy. After years of meticulous research and intense preparation, everything converges on one table with one dealer and a single deck of cards. His partner, high-stakes gambler Manny Kimmel, is nearby, eager to witness the outcomes firsthand. Thorpe's ambition is to turn Kimmel's $10,000 into $20,000. The stakes couldn't be higher. Failure will tarnish his reputation in the academic community, but success will undoubtedly draw attention from the mob. Things start in the worst possible way. Thorpe quickly finds himself down $1,000. The pressure is mounting and he can feel Kimmel's gaze intensifying. But then, the law of probability starts to do its thing. Variance swings back in Thorpe's direction, leaving him firmly in the green. His mathematical edge is taking effect, and his successes don't go unnoticed. The casino staff grow increasingly vigilant. In a bid to disrupt his winning streak, management instruct the dealer to shuffle the deck repeatedly.
As I played, they began to shuffle up more and more and more. Pretty soon they were shuffling up when there were still 40 cards to play. I was only getting to play 2 rounds. And they kept changing dealers and shuffling.
But it doesn't make a difference, they're powerless. Thorpe secures a $600 win, equivalent to about $6,200 today. He's just tasted his first victory against the house. Shortly after, the casino's bewilderment turned quickly into irritation. Within an hour, Thorpe and Kimmel are asked to leave. Thorpe has just beaten the dealer. But it doesn't end there, they venture into other casinos nearby. A familiar sequence of events unfold each time. The buzz about Kimmel and his protege spreads, making it progressively harder to find a welcoming venue, although Thorpe isn't doing anything wrong. The house just doesn't like it. Ironically, they don't want to gamble. Undeterred, the pair waste no time and move on. Next, they hit Tahoe, around an hour south. Thorpe sets his win rate at $1,000 an hour because he knows that they won't let him win for long. But news is travelling fast among the casinos about the blackjack players who seemingly never lose. The not so bright pit bosses don't know how to deal with Thorpe. They haven't got a clue how he's consistently winning. Feeling the window of opportunity closing, Thorpe bets hard. In a counter move, the dealer increases the frequency of shuffles. But when the conditions are just right, Thorpe places a maximum bet. He's consistently winning big money now, and it's drawing a lot of attention from spectators. The casino boss emerges, closes the blackjack table and bans them permanently. After just 3 days of continuous play, they've proven the effectiveness of their strategy, amassing $21,000 in the process, equivalent to about $218,000 in today's money. Thorpe's share amounts to $1,200, approximately 3 months' salary at that time. A tiny drop in the ocean compared to what he does next.
After the book came out, it frightened a lot of the casino managers and pit bosses. The book scared them to death.
A year after his breathtaking run, Thorpe publishes the now iconic book, Beat the Dealer. The book recounts his remarkable journey and educates his readers on his revolutionary strategy. It quickly becomes a bestseller, selling hundreds of thousands of copies. This prompts a significant reaction from Las Vegas, leading to an emergency meeting among the city's top casino bosses, mobsters and strategists. Initially, there's fear it will be the end of blackjack. However, in reality, the outcome was quite different. The book triggered a nationwide frenzy, with thousands of Americans flocking to casinos in a surge of blackjack play. But despite the enthusiasm, very few succeeded in mastering card counting. In reality, the book became an excuse to take a trip to Vegas and gamble. Plus, the casinos fought back against Thorpe's strategy by throwing out suspected card counters and introducing multiple deck shoes. These devices, which hold several decks of cards, complicate the card counting process by mixing the decks thoroughly and introducing more combinations. But Thorpe couldn't care less. His next move would be far bigger than Las Vegas.
It rapidly became clear that the biggest game that I could find anywhere was the New York Stock Exchange.
With an estimated net worth of around $800 million today, he didn't just beat the dealer, he beat Wall Street too.